Good morning. The Metropolitan Opera in New York City finds itself in a deep financial crisis after a massive €200 million deal with Saudi Arabia collapsed. Now, the general manager is considering drastic measures, including selling off valuable artworks and even the opera house's naming rights. The deal with the Saudis, proudly announced last autumn by general manager Peter Gelb, had been unstable since January. The official cancellation recently arrived. Saudi Arabia stated it must now focus on essential projects due to the economic consequences of the war with Iran. Apparently, an 8-year agreement for a 3-week guest performance by the Metropolitan Opera in the Saudi capital, Riyadh, each February was not considered significant enough. Peter Gelb expressed his immense disappointment in a written statement, indicating that the Met must now urgently seek alternative funding. Gelb had already outlined a potential new revenue stream in an interview with ARD Studio New York in mid-March. The Metropolitan Opera, one of America's most important cultural institutions, has never had a name sponsor. He pointed out that the New York City Ballet performs in the David H. Koch Theater, and the New York Philharmonic performs in the David Geffen Hall, highlighting a clear branding opportunity for additional income. Gelb envisions wealthy billionaires perpetuating their legacy beyond their deaths through such sponsorship. For instance, the Metropolitan Opera could potentially become the Elon Musk Opera or the Bill Gates Opera. However, time is of the essence. Peter Gelb needs to secure $30 million by the end of the fiscal year on July 31st. This is the very money that was expected from the Saudi government. The rating agency Moody's has downgraded the Metropolitan Opera's creditworthiness for the 3rd time in a single year. For Gelb, no options are off the table now. Since January, he has been looking for a buyer for 2 enormous murals by Marc Chagall located in the Met's foyer. These masterpieces are estimated to be worth around $55 million. Gelb specifies that they would only be sold to a buyer who agrees to keep them in their current location at the Met. This way, the opera would gain much needed funds while the paintings would remain on display, marked with a plaque indicating the new owner. He hopes that an art and opera enthusiast will respond to this appeal, likening it to owning a painting that is publicly exhibited in a museum. Financial troubles for the Metropolitan Opera began with the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, General Manager Gelb had to disband the orchestra, leading to the departure of first-class musicians. Important sponsors also withdrew their support. As ticket revenues declined, Gelb was forced to tap into the endowment fund. 4 years ago, the endowment stood at $340 million. It has since shrunk by $120 million. Gelb emphasized in his ARD interview that the Metropolitan Opera receives no state subsidies, which is why he is desperately searching for very wealthy opera lovers. He noted that an endowment of $1 billion would generate $50 million in annual interest, which, combined with yearly donations, would resolve all their financial challenges. There is a tragic irony to this situation. Despite the acute financial distress, the Metropolitan Opera is currently experiencing one of its most successful seasons. Richard Wagner's Tristan und Isolde was such a box office hit that additional performances had to be squeezed into the tight schedule. Furthermore, Innocence, a contemporary Finnish opera about gun violence in schools, captivated both critics and audiences alike. Gelb remarked, "All our problems would be solved if we found a multi-billionaire who would give us $1 billion. For someone who owns more than 100 billion, that's just a rounding error." This dire situation highlights the urgent need for private philanthropy to sustain one of the world's premier opera institutions. What's your take on Met Opera's Saudi deal Crumbles, art sales Loom? Share your view in the comments. Do you think this will matter in the next news cycle? This video was generated using artificial intelligence.